Okay, I guess we'll just start now. All right. So, hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing well today on this fine Saturday morning, or evening, depends on where you live. Okay. All right. So today we won't have that much people, in this class again. Some people have asked for a leave for today. But that's all right because that doesn't stop the class from continuing. So for the people who just joined right now, wait, let me give Alvin some time to like. So for the people who just joined right now, we just started the review for all of our lessons from a few weeks and a few months back then. So let's first review everything. All right, so I think everyone knows what energy is already. If you guys don't know, energy is all around you, right? Even if you might not see it. So energy essentially is just like something that measures the ability to do work. Um Oh, and also an important thing today, um, we will not have a gim kit today because I don't have a gim kit for you guys right now. I'm having issues with my account where I can't create a Google account, so we're gonna have to do book it because my gim kit account just can't make a Google account to like have the premium thingy. So yeah, but it's okay. We're gonna do a book it. So yeah. All right. Anyways. You might know like electricity as one of the energies, right? I think everyone knows what electricity is. It's what makes your light and your device work, right? But electricity is just one form of energy, right? There's different types of energy. Some form of energies are like gravity, light, heat, sound, all of that stuff. But the general consensus is that energy is basically just the ability to do work, right? So yeah. Okay, I think everyone knows what glucose is, but I'll give you guys like a quick breakdown. So glucose is just another name for like a type of sugar, right? It's a type of sugar. There's many different types of sugars, but we mainly use glucose for energy and stuff. Uh
Teacher,
yes, Liam?
what is dried apricots?
Oh, dried apricots. So there's a fruit called apricots, which is like kind of like a peach, but it's like not really a peach. It's like similar to a peach, but some people they like to dry it out to make it more sweeter. Because like apricots when they're not dried out in their original fruit form, they're kind of like not as sweet as like the dried out form. Let me just show you guys.
Is it like dry mango?
Essentially, but apricots, yeah, they kind of look like peaches, but they're not really peaches.
Oh,
So they kind of look like this.
I've seen those fruit before.
Yeah, they're smaller than peaches, but they also have different textures than peaches. They're kind of like how should I say, kind of like an apple, I guess. They
Apple.
taste yeah, they taste more like an apple than peaches. You guys should actually get apricots. They're pretty tasty. They're probably one of my favorite fruits. But yeah, all of these are basically the top 10 highest foods in glucose. The first one is grape juice. If you guys didn't know, grape has like the most glucose out of any fruit there is in this world. And yeah, but an important thing is that too much sugar, essentially too much glucose in our bodies is bad, right? Your body turns the excess sugar into fat, which is used to be later. And that is really bad for you because the fat basically wraps around your organs and that creates a lot of stress for them. So yeah. And Liam, you have another question?
Yeah, so why didn't they put
Mhm.
Turkish delight?
Turkey's delight.
Turkish.
Wait, Turkish delight? What is that?
It's like something very sweet.
Oh, oh, I see. Oh, this thing. I don't think the people who made this actually knows what this is, but I don't even know what this is. This is pretty cool. Cool. All right.
Tasted it, but I just read that in a book.
Have you ever had any?
No,
Oh.
I just read it in Narnia.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah. But
Because
yeah,
it's sweet.
so yeah, this is basically what sugar is. And I think everyone knows this because we've been talking about it a lot. Um, so yeah, don't eat too much sugar because it's bad for you. Oh yeah, have any of you guys heard what diabetes is before?
You told us last class.
Yeah, so essentially diabetes, right? It's like where your body can't like process sugar effectively. Like your body can't absorb the sugar in your bloodstream. So that causes a lot of big issues. So if your body can't take the sugar out of your bloodstream, like your cells can't absorb them, it's because you're lacking like something called like a insulin, which is something that tells your cells to like absorb the sugar in your blood. And if you can't absorb it, it's bad because it basically kills off your blood supply to your limbs. It makes your heart like less effective, like or not less effective. It makes your blood pressure lower. And that's bad because if you have low blood pressure, um, basically what it does is that it essentially makes you where like your limbs start to get less blood than usual, and your fingers and the cells in your fingers and your toes starts to die because of that, and that your fingers and toes basically turn black, and you have to like get an amputation. So that's why eating too much sugar is also bad for you. And having diabetes is even worse. That's usually diabetes is a genetics thing, and there's two different types. One type is where like you can't produce enough insulin, and another type is that your body can't like react to insulin, meaning that like you have enough insulin, but your cells don't like take in the insulin's message to like basically absorb the sugar and stuff. So yeah. But yeah, yeah, sugar is a pretty good thing in the world. We do need it. A lot of organisms need it as well to like keep their energy level up, but too much of it is bad. Especially in the modern world. You guys see like a bunch of chocolate bars, candies, a bunch of food high in sugar. Back then, our ancestors never ever had this much sugar in their life before.
They
So
don't.
yeah, they don't. So few thousand years ago or even a few hundred years ago, not sugar was basically like a rich person's type of thing. And then a few thousand years ago, like that thing didn't sugar didn't even exist. Like a lot of sugar, like what I'm saying is that the concept of sugar didn't even exist. We just know that fruits are sweet and they're good for you, but they didn't have as much sugar as like most of the foods we have today. Most of the foods we have today. So that's why our bodies are kind of new to sugar. So if you eat too much of it, it's really, really bad for you. Yeah. So like, my point is, sugar too much is bad, and a little bit is okay because we do need it, right? All
Yeah.
right. So we talked about the mitochondria, right? It's the powerhouse of the cell. It creates our energy, but how does it actually do that? So sugar, right? It's basically combined with oxygen and turned into carbon dioxide, water, and eventually something called ATP, which is like kind of like a battery that our body uses to like make energy and stuff and do stuff. But essentially, how the ATP releases energy is that it breaks off one of these things called a phosphate. So everyone remember what ATP looks like? It's like this little it's made of three things, right? It's made of this sugar. It's a different sugar from the glucose sugar. But essentially, this sugar, it's part of the ATP. But these are not that important for the ATP, really. You guys don't have to remember this, but essentially just remember this part. That you guys see the three circles over here. The
Yeah.
three circles over here, they're called the phosphates. So phosphate is I think a type of mineral. I'm not really sure, but it's like something, um, basically this thing, right? You guys see this? These are the individual phosphates. But essentially your body or your cells break off one of these guys and that releases energy, right? Now it's a little bit more complicated than just breaking off one of the tails and then like boom, energy is released and like your body can use it. Your body actually has to take that broken off tail, attach it to one of the parts of the cell that needs to be moving or like needs to do something, and then basically the energy is using that. And that's something called phosphorylation. But you guys don't have to remember that term because it is. it is a high school level term, which is why we're just going to simplify everything and just say that when you break off this guy, energy is released and you get energy. So we're just gonna say it like that, all right? Um, but yeah, okay. We'll skip this part because this is just about photosynthesis, and I think everyone knows what photosynthesis is. It's pretty easy. So we're just gonna focus on cellular respiration for today's review session. So you guys know what cellular respiration, right? We've been talking about this a lot. It's basically the process where your cells gets energy. So this process over here, you guys see this? These two words are responsible for like all of your energies, right? So the reason why you're up today, you get to class is because this thing is happening inside of you, right? And this basically has three steps. Okay, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and ETC. And remember, this is all in your notebook, or it should be in your notebook if you've been paying attention and writing them down the past few months. But essentially, these are the three steps of this process, right? The first step is glycolysis, right? It kind of sounds like glucose, right? You guys ever realize glycolysis sounds like glucose, right? And that's because the first step of this is where glucose gets broken down, right? So remember, cellular respiration breaks stuff down. They don't make stuff, right? They break things down. And the glycolysis breaks the sugar down into like halves. So think of sugar as like a chain, right? Think of it as like a chain, like a long piece of string or something. And then you cut it in half, right? When you cut that in half, it releases some of its energy to make a tiny bit of ATP. Because remember, when you use up ATP, it becomes a dead battery, right? And a dead battery requires energy to recharge up to a full battery. So when you break down sugar into two halves, the energy released from the process of breaking the sugar, basically the energy charges up the used up ATP to make the ATP have full energy again, right? And this part doesn't need oxygen. All right, this part does not need oxygen. So glycolysis, right? We breathe in oxygen. This part doesn't need it yet. Okay, Krebs cycle. So the halves basically, this is where like the halves of the sugars gets fully broken down, right? Basically carbon dioxide is releasing this part because when they're being broken down, carbon dioxide is basically like released. That's what we breathe out. And this makes a little more ATP because remember, you're still breaking things down, and that's releasing energy to recharge the dead batteries. That is ATP or ADP. So when ATP gets used and it turns into like a state where there's no energy in it, it becomes ADP because one of like the tail gets cut off, right? One of those circle phosphate thingies, they get cut off. So it becomes ADP. It becomes a whole new different type of thing, right? So yeah. This is a Krebs cycle. So it happens two times because you have two halves, right? Um, so this is the entire cycle over here, but you guys don't have to remember this because, and then again, this is just like a visual representation of what is happening inside of you right now, to like basically make energy and stuff. But remember, you guys don't have to remember these. It's just to show you how like complicated and intricate all of these things, like all of these processes are happening, right? Um, okay, what else? Yeah, so we have the last step, which is the electron transport chain, but you guys could just remember it as a ETC, right? Abbreviate it to ETC, but note the word electron. So let's first talk about what is an electron. I think everyone knows what it is, but if you guys forgot, I'll just explain. So an electron is a very small particle, right? It's a particle. It exists. It's a thing, but it's so small you cannot even like see it with like a normal microscope. Essentially, this thing has a lot of energy in it, right? And our bodies, we want to take its energy and basically use it, right? Use it to um basically move around and like live and stuff, right? And now glucose has a lot of this electron thing in it, right? And basically when we broke down all of those things, when we broke down glucose completely, oh wait, actually, let me tell you guys something. So you guys see in this process, we have this something called an NADH and an FADH2, right? So these are basically, think of them as like cars, right? Think of them as like cars taking the electrons from glucose and like the halves of the glucose, right? So glucose has a bunch of electrons, and NADH, which is this thing, right? It takes the electrons from these glucose and it takes it to the electron transport chain, which is these a bunch of protein inside of like the mitochondria, and they basically throw these electrons, right? They throw the electrons into these proteins, and the electron basically releases all of its energy when it gets like passed through these proteins. And this energy is used to recharge the ATP. And this makes a lot of ATP, right? So yeah, and this is where water is made because oxygen is using this process. So you might ask, why does oxygen get used? Well, the electron has to go somewhere, right? The electron can't just stay inside of there, inside of like all these proteins, right? Or else it'll cause like a big traffic jam. So oxygen comes into play, and they take the electrons, and they become water. So oxygen, when they take the electron, they become water because the electrons are attached to like one of the hydrogen atoms, which is an H. So O2 becomes H2O, right? You can see here an O2 atom or an O2 molecule, which is an oxygen molecule, um, binds to a hydrogen, which is also binded to an electron, right? So the electron, the high energy particle, is binded to an hydrogen, and the oxygen takes these guys, and the oxygen turns into water. So yeah, that's basically how like everything works. But and then again, you guys don't have to remember the everything I talked about. Just remember this part, right? Just remember this part. Remember that electron transport chain happens on the mitochondrial membrane. Remember, it's this part, right? This like line that you see over here. And this is where most of the energy is made. And oxygen is used, makes a lot of ATP, and water is also made in this part. So only just remember these parts. You guys don't have to remember everything I just talked about because and then again, it's just like a simplified topic. Okay. And simplified basically means that it's more easier to understand. So yeah, just remember these things. Don't remember everything else I said. You can remember it, but it's just like to explain how everything works. All right. So I think we talked about bacteria, right? Everyone knows what a bacteria is. Um, like the definition. Well, I mean, it's right here, right? So basically, bacteria, they're microorganisms, right? And microorganisms are basically very tiny little things that we cannot see, and they're living, of course. And they're also known as something called prokaryotes, which are cells without a nucleus. So remember, a nucleus is something that surrounds their DNA, right? And the DNA tells the cells what to do and what to make and all that stuff. So think of it as like an instructions manual, but for a cell. So that's what DNA is. And I think everyone knows what DNA is. So the bacteria, the DNA inside the bacteria just kind of just floats around. It isn't like engulfed, like it isn't like basically like surrounded by something. It doesn't have a nucleus, so the DNA just kind of just floats around inside the bacteria. Okay, and there's different shapes of bacteria, right? These are the three main shapes: sphere shaped, rod shaped, and spiral shaped. But sphere shaped and all of these other shapes can actually form bigger shapes. So, for example, these circle guys over here, right? They can basically form like long spiral shape or like rod shaped bacteria by like basically attaching themselves to each other, right? And bacteria is basically discovered by this guy, which is a Dutch scientist. Um, so he basically got a bunch of pond water and put it under like a very early microscope. And yeah, that's basically how he discovered bacteria. All right. So I think this is a new section. Um, Not really. I think we talked about this, but essentially, um, viruses, okay, viruses, sorry. So viruses have a lot of things that they could do. So this is a new section, so um but there's still a little bit of review because we didn't really complete the whole thing. But let's talk about viruses, all right? So I think everyone has been sick before, right? And that you guys all had like an infection before, like the flu. So a flu is a type of virus, right? And I think you guys all had the flu before. But essentially, a virus, the simple definition, the most simple definition of a virus is that oh wait, where did my drawing tool go? All right. So the most simple definition of a virus is that it is basically a strand of genetic material, right? A strand of genetic material, basically meaning that it's basically just DNA or RNA. RNA is like a more simple version of DNA. I would say DNA is like more complicated than RNA because RNA is only like a single helix, which means that it's like half of like a DNA. Um, so yeah, it has half amount of its like genetic material than DNA. So yeah, a virus basically like DNA or RNA enclosed in like a protein coat. So think of like a bunch of DNA, right? Like a bunch of like strands of DNA, right? These are strands of DNA, and it's like encased in like this little protein. And that's a virus. This is literally just a virus. It's literally just a bunch of DNA or RNA like inside like a protein coat. And this thing is not alive, but um some scientists say that they're neither dead or alive, but essentially they're not dead, but they're also not alive. The reason why is because viruses, they're kind of like robots. They kind of behave like robots. They don't eat food, they don't make energy, they don't do anything to like maintain themselves. They just go to other cells, they just go to other microorganisms, go inside them and make more viruses and killing other viruses or killing other organisms. So viruses are kind of like the robots of like the microorganism universe, right? Very bad robots too, but there are good viruses. Um, Viruses like the complex bacteriophage. This is a good virus because it fights bacteria for us. Because bacteria also can make us sick. Now, there's also different types of shapes, and yes, these are all real shapes. We have the polyhedral, which kind of looks like a bunch of triangles put together. The influenza, which is like the generic circle spherical virus, and the helical, this is a tobacco mosaic virus. But this is like pretty interesting. It has a little tail and stuff. But what I want to talk about is the bacteriophage. So this thing is a real thing. This is it under a microscope, specifically an electron microscope. So we're using the word electron again. So basically, electron microscopes are microscopes that basically use an electron to see. So instead of using light, it uses electrons to basically reflect off of these viruses and turn it into an image. All right. So yeah, these kind of look like robots, right? They kind of look like robots with their little legs and everything, right? And that these guys, they infect bacteria, right? Bacteria is bad because bacteria also infects us. There are good and bad. There are good bacterias, and bacterias like in our guts, right? They're good. They break down food for us, and but these guys, they basically kill deadly bacteria. They kill like bad bacteria. Sometimes good bacteria, but most of the times you can see them killing bad bacteria. Um, Essentially, I think someone had like a bacterial infection, and the doctors actually injected him with this virus, and he got much better. But this only happened like a few times. Um, it isn't actually like a medication that people use. So if you get like a bacterial infection, doctors won't really use this because they still don't know the dangers of using this guy. But essentially, we do know that it did cure one bacterial infection. Okay, so yeah, cool robots. That's what viruses are. Okay, so we're moving on to a new section. Um, but before we do, let's take a break and
Okay.
let's play a game of Blooket. All right. So I'll set up a Blooket. We'll do 5 minutes or 8 minutes of it. And then again, this is just a little break from the review to refresh you guys' brains and stuff. All right. So let's start the Blooket. You guys don't have to join because this is an optional game. remember, Blue Kit's always optional, but Gim Kit isn't. So yeah, you guys can go take a break if you guys want, but for remaining people here, you guys could play Book It or something. All right. All right, we'll do something. All right, you know what? We'll do this one. This is 139 questions.
Mhm. Oh, teacher already memorized that one.
Oh, awesome. Then it should be easy for you.
Memorized all the
All right, so the people who do want to play Game Kit for like 5 or 8 minutes, please type into the chat what you guys want to do. Yeah, I got like one person doing fishing frenzy. Uh okay, we'll do Monster Ball then. Oh yep, definitely Monster Ball. I just got like three, okay, yeah, 3 votes for that. Okay. Um yeah, let's do 7 minutes. What else? All right. All right, so the link is sent into the chat. To join the game, just click on the link, and then I'll start it in like a few seconds yeah, start in the minute. All right, I'll start the game now, but for people who wants to join later on, the game's still open. So yeah, I'll see you guys in 7 minutes. All right, then we'll start the class from after that.
Okay. 向左转，然后然后向左转，向左转，然后
Okay. All right, guys. Welcome back. All right, hope everyone is back now. And good job, Emily, for getting first place. Olive oil, Olivia getting second, I think, and Emma getting third. All right. So so this is the part where you guys are gonna take out a notebook and start writing. All right. So wait, what the heck? We just had someone leave. Okay, whatever. All right. So this is the part where everyone get out a notebook and start writing. Hold on, my notes are messed up for some reason. Give me 1 second after I fix. I don't know what happened. It was fine yesterday. Yeah, this is weird. Um, I can't find the original image for this thing. I'll give 1 second. Okay, I had to go online and find another image of this because I don't know what happened to the original image. It disappeared. But okay, oh, so low quality, whatever. All right, so this is a part where I want you guys to take out a notebook. But first, let's talk about virus. So this is what a virus looks like. All right. But we're only going to talk about a few things. We're not going to talk about what this is. We're not going to talk about actually, this is all we're going to talk about. So we're going to only exclude one thing out of this entire structure. But essentially, this is what a virus kind of looks like, right? This is like a typical, your average a neighbor type of virus. This is the type of virus that you usually find, I guess. The most like basic one that like people like to say, oh, it's like a circle virus with like a bunch of little things coming out of it. Essentially, let's talk about the first part of it, the envelope protein. All right. What is the envelope protein? So the envelope protein are these basically these little buds, these little studs that are like coming out of the virus, right? On top of the virus. So you guys may have seen like a if you guys ever searched up what COVID looks like, COVID it looks like you guys may have like seen these little things on on its envelope or whatever. So COVID microscope. I think there's a microscope image for it, right? Yeah, there is. So you guys see these little blue little buds? These are called the envelope proteins, right? The envelope proteins. So what are these things? What does the envelope protein do? So the envelope proteins actually trick other cells, right? Like human cells, um, animal cells, all that stuff, into letting the virus into them. Why does the virus need to go into the cell? We'll talk more about this later, but essentially, the virus needs to go into the cell to make more viruses. And this is because when the virus goes into the cell, it uses up all of the cell's resources and basically makes more viruses. But we'll talk more about how this happens. So for now, I want everyone to take notes on this, and I'll see you guys in like a minute or so after you guys have written everything down. So not too much to write down, just like what the envelope protein does. You guys can even draw like a shape, like the little shape like this guy. But it's all optional, but just get all of these writings down. So I'll give everyone a few seconds. Oh, and also I forgot to send you guys the slide for today. So if you guys need to go back to it, um, so it's very good that you guys get the slides, but these are all the slides for today, or just this one slide. So you guys can go back to it, click on the link, and follow along if you guys want to. So I'll give everyone a few moments to write these things down. All right, anyone still need more time to get everything down? Just unmute and tell me if you guys need more time. All right, seems like everyone has done. All right, so we have the envelope protein, right? Now we have the envelope oh, what the heck? It's weird. All right, I forgot. Last lesson I didn't really like from last year. I didn't really like put a lot of words in these slides because. All right, but essentially we have the envelope pro coats. I don't know why. Wait, why is this covered up actually? I can't even like. Okay, whatever. So we have the envelope coat. So what is the envelope coat? It basically protects the virus from the environment, and that's it. That's it. That's what the coat does, and it also has the envelope proteins on them, right? So yeah. So I do want everyone to write these things down. I'll give you guys a few seconds to do that before we move on. All right. So the next slide we have the genetic material. So this is basically DNA or RNA inside of them. And I think everyone knows what DNA and RNA is at this point. But yeah, give you guys a few seconds to write these things down. Wait, hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, genetic materials. Yay. All right. We also have the capsid, which is the nucle or which is also known as a nucleocap. Oh, wait. Just someone asked in the chat about DNA or RNA. Do you need me to explain or something? I didn't really see your message. It just got deleted. Oh, okay, okay, awesome. Okay, anyways, all right, so let's talk about the capsid. So, or the nucleocapsid, but we're gonna refer to as the capsid because that's what the textbook definition is. But essentially, a capsid, okay, it's basically what the genetic material is surrounded by. Okay, so the capsid surrounds the genetic material and it basically holds it in place. So think of the capsid as like a nucleus, but the capsid is actually a geometric shape. It's actually like it actually has a bunch of uh shapes surrounding. Okay, I don't know how to explain what a capsid is, but oh, what the heck? Why's my internet so bad? But it kind of looks like um it's like this kind of shape. It's like this thingy. It's like a hexagon looking thing, but it's pretty cool.
So pretty much a 3D hexagon.
Yeah, exactly. Like a polyhedral shape, right? Like a 3D hexagon. Um, but essentially this is what surrounds the DNA and RNA inside of it. And again, DNA and RNA are like instructions to help the cell. Like
Wait, can
think
you go
of
back to the blue picture real quick?
which one? This one?
Uh, um, yeah, that
Yeah, this one. So yeah, this this is kind of the picture of how like bacteriophages basically injects their DNA into the cells or bacteria. So you guys didn't know because genetic material or DNA and RNA, right? DNA and RNA because they're instruction materials or instructional genetic materials, um, basically tell cells and like microorganisms what to do, right? Like how to make stuff. So a virus has to get inside of a cell because it has to release its genetic material inside of the cell. That tricks the cell into thinking that, oh, look at this, look at all of this genetic material. I'm gonna read it. And when it reads it, it basically like, oh, so it tells me to make more viruses. So the cell basically makes more viruses because the DNA and RNA inside of the virus is telling it to do that. So that's how infections work. So when you get, sorry, I knocked my mic. When you get sick, right? When you get sick, when you cough, when you get all those like fevers and stuff, that's basically viruses going into your cells and tricking your cells into making more viruses by basically like using their like viruses trick your cells into making more viruses by using their DNA inside of your cells. So every time you get sick or every time you get like a sore throat, just think of yeah, just remember that basically viruses are tricking your cells into making more viruses like this, right? Sort of like this, but it's a little bit more different because the viruses we have are not like bacteriophages. They actually go, all of them go inside of the cell, but bacteriophages are special because they just inject the genetic material. Bacteriophages doesn't actually go inside of the cell to infect it. They just inject these DNA. Okay, so the capsid. It surrounds the genetic material and holds it in place, and it looks like a 3D hexagon, sort of. But this is what the capsid is. I do want everyone to write it down, so I'll give everyone a few minute or so to write it down. Okay. All right. Does anyone still need more time to write everything? Okay, cool. So we'll move on. So this is a new lesson, lesson number 12. Um, we do have time to review some of the slides, but basically, this lesson talks about how viruses infect people. All right, we're only going to talk about a little bit of this because I think you guys have already taken in so much information now, which is pretty awesome for you guys. Essentially, we're only going to talk about a little bit. We're going to talk about what a disease is, what a pathogen is, and how viruses or we're just only talk about this slide, but I'll give everyone a few minutes to write the title and the lesson number down. And yeah, see you guys in like a few seconds after you guys wrote this down. All right, is there anyone who still needs more time? Uh, okay, I'll give you guys like a few more seconds. Okay, so what is a disease? Um, so the simple definition for a disease is basically a condition inside of an organism. So it's a condition, which means that it's like a thing happening inside of a living thing that prevents it from like functioning normally. So what does all of this clump of text mean? It basically just means that a disease is something that happens inside of a living thing that prevents it from doing normal things, right? Like normal activities. And pathogens are a harmful organism like a bacteria or virus that infects another organism, right? And that's what a pathogen is. And pathogens, they cause disease, right? So disease is anything, like any condition inside of a living thing that basically stops it from doing its normal activities, like walking around, running, all of that stuff. So when you get sick, you guys can't really exercise. You guys don't really want to eat food, all that stuff, right? That's basically what a disease is. And a pathogen causes this. A pathogen is just like a general word for like harmful organisms, right? So it could be a parasite, bacteria, a virus, any of the two, any of the three. So yeah, I'll give everyone a few minutes to just write these things down under your lesson and then that stuff. All these definitions are important, and yeah. All right. Does anyone still need more time to write everything down? All right. I'll give you guys some few more minutes. All right. Anyone still requiring more time? All right. Cool. So yeah. We'll watch this video tomorrow because we don't really have time to watch a 10-minute video. But this will conclude today's class. So thank you guys for coming to today's class. I really enjoyed talking to you guys about all these things. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being great students. And see you guys next week. So yeah, next week we'll continue off this. And yeah. All right, see you guys later. Bye. Have a great weekend.